Boker Tov and Shavua Tov, dear friends. Rabbi Sussman, thank you very much for KI's hospitality, which is deeply appreciated. And Gil, we really commend you for your eternal optimism. That's the way to be Jewish. Having said that, as we say in Hebrew, ani mitbayesh, I'm entirely embarrassed. I'm embarrassed because whereas I've only been associated with Old Jewish Road Temple Beth Am for 22 years, Beth Am's honorees, Carol and Barry Stein, have for 36. It's their double chai year. That in and of itself is an extraordinary accomplishment. If I've been to Israel a dozen times, that's a lot. They have been to Israel in the past 20 years, since 1991, 26 times, which is really altogether extraordinary. I do want to mention, Rabbi Sussman, that whereas I've just heard that your blood drive is on December 21st, God willing, that's the day that Beth Am departs on its next congregational tour. We have 4 spaces still available, if you're at all interested. So be sure to see either Karen Kent or myself. We'd be delighted. Carol and Barry Stein are remarkable exemplars of what it means, dear friends, to be Ohavei Zion, to be lovers of Zion. When they started on their first pilgrimage in 1991, they were determined to return the following year. They very soon and very quickly became avid supporters of not only Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, but of Am Yisrael, of the people of Israel. And they've always stood fast and steadfast beside her. They decided in returning to Israel it wasn't just necessary to have to see Israel through pilgrims or tourist eyes, which we ordinarily do. They wanted to get down and dirty, literally. And so they volunteered on a number of archaeological digs. Beit Shan, Ashkelon, Megiddo, Ein Gedi. And then, a couple of years ago, they became associated with VFI, Volunteers for Israel, that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And Carol herself, 5 times, has been throughout the country visiting IDF bases. It's not only that. I know for a fact that Rabbi Sernovitz, who sent his very best wishes and could not be here today, Carol and Barry have sat down with their Beth Am rabbis and discussed in sincere and very serious debate how they consider Israel through the media. They will not take no for an answer. They want to make sure that the state and the people of Israel are portrayed in the best possible light. Stand Up for Israel campaign is an integral part of their lives. And we commend them for the stand, literally and figuratively, that they have taken. Dear Carol and Barry, we are enormously proud of you. We ask you to come forward at this time to accept this very beautiful...
Well, Rabbi Lee, thank you. We've anticipated a number of things that we're going to say, but we'll do it anyway. We've redundant. We thank Old York Road Temple Beth Am for selecting us as honorees at this Israel Bonds event. We're delighted and actually somewhat humbled to be here among Rabbi Lee, our fellow congregants, friends, family, and fellow honorees. Many of you know or have read about our involvement with Israel and Israel-related causes, beginning with our participation in the 70s in Beth Am Soviet Jury Committee, founded by the inimitable Norm Leventhal, and continuing with Beth Am's Israel Action Committee. The story includes more than 25 trips, numerous archaeological digs at sites dating from 3rd millennium BCE at Megiddo to a recent exciting one at Ir David in Jerusalem, where we as the only Americans held our own digging alongside Israeli students, very special friendships with Israelis from ages 3 to 90, political activism, and more.
There's more to the story. In the spring of 1991, we were among the least likely people to visit Israel. It's not that we didn't care about Israel, we did. It's just that we never considered actually going there. Then one day, out of the blue, my mother called from Fort Lauderdale and said she wanted to revisit Israel, and she wanted to take us with her. In September, on a 17-day tour. Lots of her friends will be going too. I don't remember what Barry said, but I know that I said no thank you. The last thing I wanted to do was use up all of my hard-earned vacation, spend time traveling with a bunch of old people in their 60s and 70s. And there are lots of other places high on my bucket list. So I stalled, and I mentioned the offer to some of my friends. Without exception, everyone said I was crazy. Every person who had ever been to Israel envied us for the opportunity to go there for the first time. I heard that so often, I just couldn't believe it was true. They said it was like nothing we would ever experience. And my friend Gail, who's sitting over there, said, "Kat, you have to go. You can't say no to your mother." So I finally consented. And Barry was happy to go along with me. And the problem was that I worried that Israel could not possibly live up to expectations. It was just too built up. And I would probably be the only person in my crowd who didn't get it. And I actually said, I'm going to flunk Israel and I'm going to be embarrassed. But the rest is history, because from the very first day, I felt a strong attraction, and the feeling grew stronger every day. The people, the landscape, the history, the smells and the sounds, the way Israelis express their love and commitment to their country, the way families demonstrate their love for each other, the way that men greet each other with hugs and kisses, the way that those Hebrew melodies that I had to sing at Camp Telhai every summer for 13 years and hated, they just kept resurfacing. And then there was the uncanny way that I felt more at home there than I'd ever been here. And I was in love.
When we came home, we conscientiously made it our mission to tell everyone what we'd experienced and do what we could, within reason, to pique the interest of others so that they, too, would make a trip to Israel a priority. Being part of Volunteers for Israel, which enables Americans to volunteer in non-combat roles on Israeli military bases, was and is a perfect way to do this. So is Carol's helping Amy Holtz with JerusalemOnline.com and the Step Up for Israel campaign to raise awareness of the sinister anti-Israel and anti-Semitic movements on our kids' college campuses. And it creates innovative courses and films to educate our kids and communities about Israel and Judaism. Also, we're involved in Hana's reporting at AIPAC.
In 1991, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. We had 3 daughters, full-time jobs, parents, and each other to worry about. Now we've added a whole other country, and our lives have never been the same. And all we can say is, thanks, Mom. We wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I invite Rabbi Rosenblum to come up, I see he's coming anyway, so. It was at a Tamazon.
חבריי נברר, יהי שמעתם רחמים, אבי אלוהים.